Shall we start? Very good morning to you all. Today we are going to start our research symposium. So before that, I would like to introduce you our chairperson and co-chairperson. Chairperson is Professor S.M.S. Samarakon. So if I briefly introduce him, and he has obtained his Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery from Institute of Indigenous Medicine, and he has earned his postgraduate diploma in hospital management from Sabaragam University and Doctor of Medicine in Kaya Chikitsa from Banaras Hindu University and PhD in Kaya Chikitsa from Gujarat University. And he is a double PhD holder. His second PhD he has earned from University of Sabaragam. And he has served as a senior lecturer and coordinator of Postgraduate Institute of Gampha Vikramarajya Ayurveda Institute. And currently he works as a professor in unit of Deshiya Chikitsa and chairperson for the relevant subject of the Postgraduate Institute of Indigenous Medicine. This professor has supervised several postgraduate students and published near 100 of research papers in locally and internationally in peer-reviewed and index journals. If I mention about Dr. Mrs. K.R. Kaumudi Karunagoda, she is the co-chairperson in this session, and she obtained her first degree in BAMS, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery, from Institute of Indigenous Medicine with first class honor, and she earned the Doctor of Medicine degree from Gujarat University. During her career, she has been as the head of the unit of Prasuti Tantra and Kaumara Bhutya, and as the secretary to Ethic Review Committee in the Institute of Indigenous Medicine. And she has supervised several undergraduate as well as many postgraduate students. She has published around 100 research papers, full papers in peer review and index journals. And thank you very much, chairperson and co-chairperson, for presenting here. And so if I briefly mention about the lineup of today's program, R.V. Eknaligoda is the first presenter, then D.D.N. De Silva is the second one, then R.A.D. De Silva is going to present a presentation in as number 3. And for the number 5, K.G.D. Nilupuli, and number 6, D.M.S.P. Divakara, then number 7, K.D. Manori, number 8, H.L.N.R. Pradeep, and number 9 is M.H.H.M. Jayasingha, number 10, W.A.S.S. Veerako. So I would like to cordially invite Professor S.M.S. Samarakon to introduce you about the keynote speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Now we are going to start the third scientific session of the International Symposium, ICAUST 2022. Today we have a distinguished personality as the keynote speaker of the today's session. He is Dr. Sairam Reddy, the co-founder and chief scientist of Urban Kisaan Farms, India, and the director, Heartfulness Institute of India. So I cordially invite my co-chair, Dr. Kaumudi Karunagoda, to introduce today's keynote speaker. Dr. Kaumudi.
Thank you, sir. Let me tell the brief introduction of the keynote speaker of today's session. Dr. Sairam Reddy is a co-founder and chief scientist officer in Kisaan Farm, India, director, Heartfulness Institute, India. Dr. Sairam is a passionate researcher and entrepreneur aimed towards developing environmentally safe and sustainable agriculture technologies. He did his PhD in the field of plant biotechnology. He did his postdoctoral research in IISc, Bangalore, as a National Fellow of Biotechnology in the University of Delaware, USA, and NIH Fellow. He also did various courses from NALSAR, India School of Businesses, Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, Stanford, and Harvard Universities. Currently, he is leading the research and development of his own startup, Kisaan, a vertical farming pioneer in India. Kisaan is listed in the top 5 most influential projects in India for the year 2020 by PIM. Kisaan was also awarded Startup of the Year 2021 by Economic Times, Company of the Year 2021 by Inner Review, and Global Sustainability Award and Innovative Social Entrepreneur of the Year 2021 by TIE Sustainability Summit 2021. Kisaan received investment from the leading investors like Y Combinator USA and BASF Germany. He published over 30 research articles in peer-reviewed international journals, presented many more topics in several scientific forums in multiple countries. He was honored by national and international scientific bodies and received many awards for his scientific contribution, including National Fellow of Biotechnology by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, Best Project Leader and Best Mentor by JK Organization, Outstanding Biotechnologist by WCPT Sri Lanka, and Distinguished Scientist by Science and Technology Foundation and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Excellency Award, India Award, Indian Achievers Award for the year 2021. He was listed in the top leading leaders in agriculture industry for the year 2020. He has been a scientist seeking spirituality, practicing heartfulness way of meditation for the more than 2 decades. He is currently extending his voluntary service as a director for Heartfulness Institute India and also as a trainer of heartfulness meditation, and contributing his part in the building stress-free society, orientating towards the higher life goals. So with all these qualifications and experience, we would be delighted to invite Dr. Sairam Reddy for today's keynote speaker. So I think Sir has not still joined. Shall we start with the scientific session? Yeah. With the permission of the chairperson, that committee decided to start.
For question and answers. Okay, we will go for the second presentation now.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm sorry, there was some technical glitch. I couldn't join.
So, okay, you are welcome to Institute of Indigenous Medicine, sir. We are happy to see you. So, previously we introduced you. Shall we do it again?
No. It's already done, no need. Yeah.
Then we will invite you cordially to deliver your keynote speech, sir.
Thank you very much. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My apologies for the little delay. Today, I'll be giving a little brief about, what is happening in this space of, the hydroponics, which is one of the most promising technologies for securing food and also to meet the demands of many other, the needs like, the growing medicinal plants and, in a cleaner way and much better manner with enhanced, the active principles. Let me just introduce you the need, what is actually happening. So we are all aware so well that the urbanization is happening so rapidly. So it is expected around 54% of the global population is going to live in cities, and it is going to grow much more by 2050 because they tend to migrate to cities for their better living. So what is actually happening here is, as a result of it, there is also a growing demand on this, the urban agriculture. As per the FAO, about 800 million people worldwide are working towards this in peri-urban areas and producing food for these urban dwellers. However, there are issues related with this because the very rapid expansion of the cities is actually taking over the peri-urban areas, and the peri-urban areas are also getting heavily contaminated with industrial effluents and then the city runouts. So as a result of it, the accumulations of this pesticides, accumulations of these heavy metals and many more toxic things in these groundwaters, as well as the soils in all the peri-urban areas and urban areas, where the crops and anything you grow in that area is actually getting into the our food. So the plants are absorbing these the toxins, and then even animals which are fed by these this food is actually carrying, and then finally it is reaching us. We are not talking much these days about this heavy metals. Our focus has been all the time on pesticides and excessive uses of fertilizers. Of course, these two are very important things, but much more important thing, which is growing concern, if we don't pay attention to it and if we don't address it, this may become a much bigger challenge. We don't have any means to clean up the soils. We don't have any means to clean up these waters. If we have to use ROs to clean up these waters and all, that is again going to cause a lot of water wastage. So the alternate the agronomy, the agriculture technology, which is coming up recent days, if you see from 2018 and how it is growing, and now it is expected to is up about 11% CAGR. But in fact, the recent reports are saying that this could be much more than this 11%. It could be 15 to 16% CAGR. After this pandemic, there is a huge demand for the, the clean food, safer food, things like that. So current scenario, if you see the majority of this, the hydroponic space is filled with very limited crops. It's like, the tomatoes, lettuces, some peppers like, the bell peppers, cucumbers, that's all. So, the rest, all other crops are in a very small space. So what is the advantage of this, and why do we think that this is going to fit into this space of urban and peri-urban areas and how this is going to help us. See, number one, it doesn't use the soil, and the growth of the crops in this kind of agronomy is very, very fast, very rapid, anywhere from 3 to 8 times faster than open field cultivation. And it uses very limited water. It uses anywhere from 5 to 10% of the water compared to the requirement of the open fields. We have done a kind of an assessment in our trials. So we have one rooftop, the farm in the city, which is about 3,200 square feet area. It's a vertical garden. The produce, the spinach we grow there, the produce which we grow there, in terms of volume, it is equal to 1 acre of spinach production. So as per, the FAO standards, like, the generally for spinach, to grow spinach, you need about 226,000 liters of water. That's about 45 days of crop, So to get the same volume of spinach harvested from this kind of vertical garden using hydroponics, so we assessed it only requires about 8.5 to 9,000 liters of water. That's the amount of water we are talking about. So we also have an assumption that, several times that we have to use only RO water. So when we go for RO water, again, we will land in trouble, like, we will be wasting 80% of the water. So we cannot claim any of this, the water savings. So this 5% to 10% is actually, the very small amount of water for 3,200 liters to 3,200 square feet area, and 8 to 9,000 liters of water. For one individual at home, we need to, we actually consume about, the average of 4 people, it is assessed about 4 to 5,000 liters of water. That's the kind of consumption. So this is much less than that. Meaning, what I say is we can very well use our municipal water, the drinking water, without wasting any water, and still grow these things, the crops. So it doesn't attract any weeds because there's no soil and is a very well regulated. And nutrients are very efficiently used. This is again compared to open field fertilizer requirement. It only takes about, again, 7 to 8% of the fertigation, because everything goes into usage. Nothing is wasted in this. So no pesticides are required. I mean, in case of a pest, we're supposed to use some biologicals because it's a very close vicinity, and where we can do very thorough monitoring of it at when it is in, the very, ETL, we call it as, right? Essential threshold, economic threshold damage levels. When it is way before that ETL itself, we can identify it and use the biologicals, then we will be able to control it. The problem of using pesticides comes, when we are not attending to the problem at an early stage, when we just leave the crop unattended and the pest is so much abundantly, affecting, then we have no option than going for chemical pesticides and causing the, the problem to the food. So if you see out there in the scenario, like, there are so many different types of hydroponic system. I just wanted to give a glimpse of what is actually happening around, and then I'll just give a little glimpse of what we do at Urban Kisaan and what can be done for future, very little. So it's like, there are small home kits which can be grown in the balconies or rooftops, or inside the homes, and indoor kits, small kits which will help you to grow your at least greens needs can be met, for a family of 4 to 6. These are smart home kits. In my view, probably they may not be of much use to us in terms of utility, but they will inspire us. They will, help us to develop interest in this gardening. So these are small kits which are primarily to keep it on the tabletop, and they are all very tech enabled. They are connected to these IoTs, and you can monitor all the data points, everything from your mobile app and things like that. It's a little hi-fi, utility is less, but it inspires us more than it provides food to us. And this is another upcoming space, like the small neighborhood farms. These days, this kind of neighborhood farms are growing up because it doesn't require so much of investment, and it generates the sufficient the produce which can be supplied to the neighborhood. So you don't even need to invest on marketing, packing, storing, and all those things. So this kind of concept is growing day by day. The neighborhoods are taking up the little space, 1,000 square feet or 500 square feet area, and either vertical or flatbed kind of a systems help you to grow at least limited number of SKUs, but the meet the clean supply chain. This is another concept called the smart containers or container farms. This is a highly useful concept for extreme conditions, like either it is, take it as a Norway or as a desert UAE kind of the Sahara desert. Doesn't matter what is the climatic condition of outside, you will be able to grow the needs of your the foods. And these are again fully tech enabled kind of concepts. So it is easy to ship. There's a company called Freight Farms in US. It's doing a good business with this. So if you make an order, and then they'll be shipping the container which is fully installed, just plug and play kind of the system. So another growing concept in Europe is a company called Inform. Invested heavily in doing R&D and then in promoting this concept. What it does is, like it installs the grow towers inside the supermarkets, and then grow the food there itself. So the customer goes there, harvest what they want, and then just take it fresh as, this is the most freshest farm they can take it actually. So this is a very rapidly growing concept in Europe. See, what is happening with all these things which I just mentioned are like they are primarily our neighborhood farms. They are there right either in our balcony or in the next door kind of system. So we all know these days, the food miles is something, the carbon food miles is something that which we are talking extensively. Countries like India and a lot of European companies, the countries are actually now the signatories of UN Environment Protection the bill. So as a result of it, we supposed to comply the carbon the sequencing, or we need to reduce the carbon emissions. So otherwise, this is going to heavily burden on our countries, as the the exports are going to be like carbon traded. So there is going to be carbon tax shortly being imposed. For a country which is producing more carbon emissions, they're supposed to pay for that when they are exporting to the other countries. So this kind of a systems where the carbon food miles are almost zero kind helps a lot in minimizing these carbon food miles. And also, like as per the statistics, at least in India, around 37% of the produce, especially vegetables and fruits, is getting wasted before even it reaches market from the farmers, the field. So this much of wastage is cruel. So if we can save this wastage, and that can feed the hungry stomachs so comfortably, and we can bring down the cost of food. That's actually we see everywhere these days. The inflation of food is extremely high. It is growing enormous. So all those things can be addressed with this kind of neighborhood farms. I lovingly call it as a micro farming. So the farms, for our needs are, the concentrated elsewhere in a bigger farm. So if we can decentralize them into our own houses, balconies, into at least some portion of that produce can be, the food can be produced in our own vicinity. So the other thing is that this is primarily for businesses. This is a medium size, few acres of The farms is primarily monoculture, either tomatoes or cucumbers, lettuces kind of a thing. And there are the huge, massive, large scale indoor farming concepts. So this is now, actually it was booming like anything until 2022. In 2022, after this Ukraine war, there is a big surge of, the energy cost. So if you see the European countries or even US, anywhere from 4 to 5 times increase in the electricity bill. So is making these kind of farms very difficult to run, but otherwise all these years they were doing so good and doing massive expansions. Of course, it is time that people are extensively looking for alternative renewable energies where the cost of product, the energy is going to come down, such kind of means. When such technology comes in, when it's energy bill, comes so handy, these kind of technologies are going to help us extensively to grow food so clean, so safe, without any wastage, and then can help us to, the feed with a clean and healthy food. And these are another, the very large scale, about 50 acres or 60 acres of farming. They're very limited, maybe 3 or 4 such farms are available worldwide so far. So we at Urban Kisaan has been extensively working in this space since 2018. So what we do is we build farms in the neighborhoods, primarily sticking to the concept of minimizing the food miles and minimizing the wastage of food. And our focus has been the tropical countries. So we see, this technology is all so well built for temperate crops like lettuces or cucumbers, or that's why, one of the slides is showing that only such crops are being grown. So the breeding for such varieties have been done, and technologies, stabilization, everything is done because Europe and US has adopted this technology well. So countries like ours, either India or Sri Lanka, we are tropical countries. Our food needs are different. Our crops are different because our light requirements are also different. Intensity of light, temperatures, humidity, all these things are different. So our crops need a different kind of a conditions. So our focus has been from the inception, developing the technology and adopting the technology suitable for these tropical crops. So they stick to the same concept, as I said, that we use the soilless farming and no pesticides, and our farms are very close by, just a maximum of the 5 kilometers. That's the maximum distance, and then that's helps us to deliver the produce at the fresh farm. And these are our kits, home kits. We started our business with this, and then we had to graduate ourselves upon demand from our customers. So we started building farms, vertical farms, right inside the city, in the rooftops, commercial buildings. And then, as you see here, these are our tropical crops. And also, as business expanded, we also built the peri-urban farms, not going far away, and then it helped us to build the volumes. And we were not sticking to the only grains. We were with these cucumbers and also the broccolis, cabbages, and things like that. And we also came out with our own tech to help us to reduce the cost of setting up indoor farms. Otherwise, the best indoor farm lights, grow lights, used to cost us in Indian rupees, anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 rupees one fixer. So, and then if to build a decent size of indoor farm, for us, it requires at least 1,500 to 2,000 these fixers. So which makes me the impossible to set up because cost of setup is very high. So we came out with this fixers, our own spectrum, which helps the tropical crops. So, and we could produce this at 10 times lesser cost. And we noticed that the just producing is not sufficient. We also need to build a proper supply chain, a proper retailing system, and also need to help the consumers to understand the technology and adopt this technology. So that's the reason why we opened a retail chain of stores in our city. And this is how our stores appear, like, the stores itself is a farm. So the consumer can walk in and then harvest, and also like the produce from the peri-urban areas is also displayed there. And that's how the consumer is helped. And also they have online sales. So another important thing I wanted to put it here is that, so if we use the technology directly, so there is a, as a product. So there is a problem at this juncture is, the meeting the, what you call the profits. See, the bottom line is always affected because the tech cost is very high, even now, even with our own intervention, our own innovations, still the tech cost is going very high. So then we thought that, we should make this entire thing, the ecosystem, viable. Then we came out with a new concept called this salads. It's not a regular salad. It's a meal replacement salad. If you see here in this images, you see the millets and you see the brown rice and kind of things which are blended with this salad items. And so that in the value added products, you may get it at a higher price, and then you may realize better bottom lines. So this helped us to sustain our business, and this is picking up so widely here. So this is much more accepted because these days urban dwellers are, sorry to say that, the better go for already cooked food rather than cooking. That's the kind of the busy schedules they are getting into it. So supplying this healthy meals to them is something that is so satisfying for us. And this is a very well yielding business. It is sustainable business for us also. So the overall, this tech, through this tech, what we are trying to do is we are addressing three very important issues. One is water shortage, and if you see Indian scenario, 54% of the country is facing, the high to extreme high water stress. And you also see the problem with these developing countries is the industrial effluent, and then the urban severages is all causing the pollution. And also the supply chain is not hygienic. It's not clean. Supply chain is still contaminated, and they're carrying a lot of unwanted things in our food. So we, with our tech, we kind of try to address, and it's a long way to go still to say, that we are successful. So, but still, we have done this nutrient formulation development for this tropical crops and low-cost grow lights and IoT systems, and also AI/ML based software to address the crop management and also the QC of the produce. And this entire tech helped us to bring down the cost by 60% and about 50% reduction in our operating cost. And we crop range also expanded, not limited to what we generally see outside. So there are a lot of our own tropical crops, like the regular tomatoes and cucumbers, and the hot chilies we are breeding to make it like really vertical in nature, and suitable for indoor. This is our breeding lines. And also the okra also we are bringing onto these hydroponic systems. So you may not find it relevant for today's need, but this is definitely going to help us in coming years, since we are R&D based tech development company. So we wanted to be future ready with everything. And the gourds like ridge gourd, bottle gourd, bitter gourd, all these gourds we could grow very comfortably in this vertical farms. And cabbages, you see here, and this is a multi-crop system. The different crops can be combined into one single vertical tower, and help a family or a neighborhood to grow all their needs. And we even ventured into the growing the saffron, which is limited to the most extreme temperate conditions. If you say in India, it is grown only in Himalayan region, that too Kashmir at a limited pocket around 4,500 acres. That's all its cultivating area. So one of the very high value crops. So we could bring it into hydroponics, and we could grow it very well in Hyderabad, very hot typical tropical city. And root crops, and even we are working on this what you call value-added foods or supplementary foods. So these are actually sweet potatoes with lots of keratin, beta carotene. It's like carrot-like sweet potatoes. So the advantage of this, why we are working on this, is there is an idea like tomorrow there are the growing demand for the smart cities happening across. So we are trying to greenery the facades with some advanced, just like the stay green kind of a twines rather than useful the vegetation. So if we can use the sweet potato lines for this kind of a purpose, a lot of facades in offices and all those things. And this is a twiner, and it stays green, and it doesn't shed the leaves so easily. And it helps the making the beautification of the facade. At the ground level, it produces food. So the sweet potato is one of the staple foods for several countries and the societies. So this might help them to meet some of their demands, not only in the homes but also the communities. So the challenges are still more. As I mentioned, that it is still going to take a lot of time to say that this tech is going to come into the mainstream of agriculture. But for sure, it is going to address the challenges. And this is the one technology which is going to mitigate our current challenges of water shortage and and then food shortage, especially the clean food shortages. So there, like, a technology is still maturing. It is still high investment intensive, the approach. It's still a sensitive market. There's several places that people say it is it natural? Or is it artificial? Does it carry all the nutritional values? So if you grow under lights instead of sunlight, so you may be losing some, the very important nutritional ingredients. Kind of questions are still coming, though a lot of research has gone in and proved that there will be no, the difference in food values compared to the either soil grown or the hydroponic grown. But still, this awareness needs to be percolated, and locally for several crops, this research needs to be taken up, and then only it can be proved, it can be convinced to the people. And the non-availability of genotypes for several crops which are suitable for hydroponics is a major challenge. So all the time, all the crops, what so far we have, very high yielding crops or whatever the best crops we have in the market, they are actually bred for soil. They are selected for open fields, not for this kind of a system. The crop, the phenotypes and other growing, the approaches are different actually for these two agronomical climatic conditions. So it is important to pay attention, even breeding activities, to develop varieties which fits to this kind of a system, so that entire ecosystem is viable and economically feasible. And there are still very high expectations of consumers. Like we see, like, generally the produce which comes from this technology is very clean and very good looking. Like it's like as if, is it real, the capsicum, or is it a wax cut capsicum? Kind of a doubt, such a kind of a clean produce we get. So in such case, customers who are used to such kind of produce, so even if for whatever reason there's a little scar on it, little spot on it, so they get annoyed. I mean, it's good actually, but it's also sometimes impossible for business to survive and produce, for farmer to produce such a kind of a clean produce all the time. So when it comes to these medicinal plants, there's a lot of huge, massive application of this technology for medicinal plants, because one of the primary challenges today for medicinal, any herbal medicines, is the consistency of the supplies, irrespective of the season, and not only that, the consistency of these active principles in the crop. The every batch you harvest, So when it goes to the processing, and there is a variations in the active principle and causing, the processing changes, and even output, whatever you get is grades are different. So these challenges can be addressed by deploying this technology, and can be made round the year, and you can manipulate the entire climatic conditions to trigger even higher concentrations of these active principles, and the consistency of active principles can be achieved. But still, a lot of research needs to be done. As I mentioned, this is still in a very, very initial stage. I strongly recommend the universities to take up one after other the medicinal plants, and adapt into this system, and come out with the suitability of the technology. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity. So if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take if we have time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sairam Reddy, today's keynote speaker. Really, your presentation was very interesting, I think very important. You very nicely elaborated urban agriculture and hydroponics, soilless farming with its advantages, and in-store farming, large-scale indoor farming, and greenhouse farming. I think this is a timely need, sir. So because now, including our both countries, the land, cultivatable lands are being gradually restricted. So we have to look for this type of agriculture methods using new technologies. In that sense, the presentation is very much important. We are very much impressed about your presentation, sir. And again, we have to thank you for accepting our invitation for delivering keynote speech. So I thank you on behalf of the scientific session, and also on behalf of the Institute of Indigenous Medicine and the University of Colombo. And we look forward to meet you again, sir. At the event like this, we will invite you again. Thank you for delivering your keynote speech. I would like to invite co-chair Dr. Kaumadi also, if you want to say something.
Thank you, Professor Sanapur. With this, one small question came to my mind. As we are Ayurveda people, may I know at present, according to your experience, what are the Ayurveda medicines can be easily adapted to this hydroponic method?
Yes, there are quite a few. We have already tried some of those, the Ayurvedic, the plants. So one extremely easy to grow is Bacopa monari. That can be grown very rapid rate, and even Bacopicides are, there is a very consistency of this active principle, and then curcumin in turmeric is another crop, can be very easily adapted to this, and then can be used. And stevia is another one, though we have tried, and very successful and very rapid. It builds a lot of vegetation at a very rapid pace, gives a good biomass with high stevia sites. And yeah, quite a few, like, can be, these are, the few examples which we can do. And also, like musli, what is that? We call musli is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is another very high value medicinal plant, can be adapted in hydroponics, and very successfully it can be grown.
Thank you, sir, for your expert views and ideas.
So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So I'm really honored to be there among you. And I would love to join you again whenever there is an opportunity, and share my views with the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
So, the next presenter